Anshikiwa, hello, how are you all? Welcome to Homelands, originally broadcast on CFCR Community Radio, 90.5 FM in Saskatoon, Homelands of the Métis and Treaty 6 territory, CFCR.ca. This is your favorite Auntie, Andrea Letting. My name is Andrea Letting. Call me Auntie Andy if you like, and I'll be your host over this next half hour. I am part settler, part relative, and 100% ally and relation to everyone. I'm just me, not a card-carrying member of any Indigenous nation, but I am loved, adopted, related to, and accepted by many, rejected by a few, but haters gonna hate, relators gonna relate. I am blessed to have Indigenous relations in my family and secretly may love them a little bit more than all the rest, only because they are the first peoples of this land who welcome all the guests. But I'm also of Irish and Scandinavian descent, along with a little bit of mystery, and that's the way I was raised, strongly decolonial and justice-oriented with a big related heart for all. I most empathize with my Batoche Métis friends and family and that history and culture growing up, and as an adult have continued to try to live that meal permitsu and that beautiful good life. So from the fringes of the sash, I situate myself as a relative and ally and welcome you, my listeners, as brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, cousins in the Homelands. So let's welcome our relative tonight. So I've got my brother from another mother, Marcel Petit, or Petit if you like, and he is gonna, introduce himself. You may have heard of him. He's kind of a big deal and great guy. And yeah, go ahead, Marcel. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then just keep talking.
Oh my God, I don't know if I can do anything after that one. Who am I? I'm Marcel Petit. I'm what would you say? I'm Métis. I'm from Saskatoon. My family's from Duck Lake and Beardy's in Okemasis First Nation. I'm a proud brown guy. I'm an artist. I do film, photo. I act. I write, and I also run a youth center on 20th and Avenue I called Core Neighbourhood Youth Coop, and so that keeps me busy. So I do both, which I'm lucky. I'm pretty lucky that I have a board here at Core Neighbourhood that lets me do my art, and really I need to do the art. I need to do, if I'm going to either do one of them, I need to do one fully. If I need to do, I think I just told somebody, I said, I need to do both. They both keep me sane. And so that's the big thing, is that I love doing what I do at Core Neighbourhood, but I also love doing art. And I need both of them. They keep me both happy. I feel like it always gets to that point when I think people have told us from the beginning of the time, try to do something that doesn't feel like work. And these both don't feel like work to me. And I love doing them both. But I love it. When it comes to Core Neighbourhood, we run a school with the Greater Catholic Schools of Saskatoon, and we have graduates, at least 3 or 4 graduates per year, so that's working. We have a beautiful wood shop with an amazing woodworker in there that's building amazing products for people. Introduced us a couple of years ago to the catio that everybody wants, so they can put their cats outside. And it is amazing in how many we sell every year. And then we have good partnerships with different agencies. BGC Saskatoon is an amazing partner for us here at Core Neighbourhood. But Core Neighbourhood it runs beautifully, it runs perfectly. Somebody asked me the other day, a couple months ago, what do we do? I said, all we do is provide opportunity. That's all we're doing with the youth, right? Is that we're giving them a chance to hopefully help them on their next journey of their life. Whether it's school, whether it's work, we build essential skills, even to the point of just showing up and being present, right? Is that we're not trying to fix or save anybody. They're not broken. We make sure that we're here for them. And let them know that they need to, we try and throw culture and arts and school and essential skills and give them things. Hopefully it sticks on their skin and that they get it someday, right? They may not get it for 10 or 15 years. They may not get it for 5 years, right? I know, and some may never get it, but at least it's that teaching, right? And that's that healing, and we just try to show them that they're worth it and that they can do it, and that that it's totally up to them, right? It's that there's a I hate that word when people say that it's, well, you do tough love, Marcel. I said, no, I don't do tough love. It's just honesty. We got to remember our youth aren't dumb and they're not stupid. They know bullshit when they see it, right? And so it's just really making sure that we're honest with them here. This is here. It's for you. We're given again. It's that providing opportunity. It's giving hope. It's giving education, and I think that's all we can do is provide opportunity and provide give some hope that there's hope out there, right? And we know in these crazy times, these past 2 or 3 years, it's been pretty crazy, but the youth is still showing up and they're still graduating. So making sure they understand that's on them. We just opened the doors. Everything, if they graduate, they did it. We didn't graduate, they did it, right? And so make them understand that. And so that's big for them to understand. But we have an amazing board. We have amazing building staff. Really, in the end, there's only one staff member for Core Neighborhood, and then contract workers, and then everybody else is building staff. BGC and the Greater Saskatoon Catholic Schools that's totally something different. And amazing funders, amazing donations. I always tell people if you can donate $5 a month to Core Neighborhood on Canada Helps, go for it. I said that always helps in every way, right? And we're not asking for if you have an extra million, give us an extra million. That's always nice. But yeah, if you can give, if I always tell people if 100 people can give us $5 a month and just take $5 a month, you're not going to miss it because a coffee costs $6 in some places, right? And if you're paying $6 every day for a cup of coffee, you're not going to miss $5 a month to Core Neighborhood Youth Co-op, right? And it comes in handy. It helps us because this funding is always going to be the thing, as you know, funding is always going to be the scary thing about charities and nonprofits, right? But I don't live being in fear every year if the money's going to come. Just enjoy it. I can only control me, and I remember that, right? So that's Core Neighborhood. When it comes to me personally, art is amazing. Art is fun. I was lucky enough, and I'm so grateful that Indigenous Screen Office this year gave me a grant to shoot my own movie this year, and I'm terrified and I'm happy and excited about that. Yeah, it's amazing to know that I've been lucky enough, even during this whole pandemic, I've been lucky enough to be busy still. I've had a couple corporate things that's kept me busy. And I'm glad to know that people trust me and allow me to come do some of the things that I've done. I've written a play for a radio play. I'm writing a few other plays too, and for myself. And yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing time. I'm pretty lucky. I'm pretty happy. I get to go home to a cat that doesn't like me every day, and who slobbers way too much. And I get to do this. I get to do art. I get to work in the field of even working in the field of nonprofit charity. Working with Core Neighborhood is an amazing gig too. These two things that I get to do, it's amazing. And at the same time, I had mentioned this to you before too, is that learning and that educating myself and healing, right? That's another part of my life. Is I'm just trying to be a better human being than I was a year ago, or 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, right? And if I'm going to make mistakes, hopefully they're not the same mistakes I made 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And really, like even this year, it's been, I think, I don't know, it's been 20 years since I quit drinking, right? And quit doing drugs. And that's an amazing thing, is that I'm not getting into fights and getting stabbed or shot at, and not being as much as a asshole as I used to be, right? And I'm a different kind of asshole. And I hope people don't mind the swearing, but there I did it. I swore. But it's interesting to be. I'm 53 years old now, right? Compared to where I was when we first met too, right? And it's like, yeah, it's such a different world. And you and I both have had our ups and downs in these past 20 years, probably since we've known each other, and they've gone up and gone down. And it's how you get out of that too, right? Is that where do you end up on the other side? And I think we, from both of us in our friendship that we have, is that we're still in good places. And I hate that cliche that it could be worse, right? It could be worse, right? But I don't think it's just waking up, brushing it off, and going, okay, now what? And I think that's what I've done with most of my life, is that kind of just brushing it off and going, okay, I got to keep moving, I got to keep going. Um, but yeah, that's, I think, my goal. I thought about it last night, honestly, is that when I wake up in the morning and when I go to bed at night, I say nice prayers to the Creator and my grandmothers and grandfathers, and I always just want to. I'm hoping that I'm becoming a better human being for myself, but for the world around me. Right? Is that I want to. I always don't want to sound like I'm because I'm not perfect, and I don't want to pretend to be perfect, but I want to be a better person for me and for everybody around me. And because it's interesting. So we was talking about this again. How little time we don't know how much time we have on Earth, right? I went to Halifax in November last year and got hit by a car, and then I hit a deer, right? And within 24 hours, and I realized and that I was thinking about my family and my brothers and sisters, and we talked, and this is the thing we talked about, is that we're getting to an age where most of the people we've known when we were younger are passing away. And I'm going, so my goal is to enjoy life as much as I can, and whether it's traveling, in my relationship, and in my home, in my cat, in my family, my writing, my art, my core neighborhood, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm probably, and like everybody else, I get depressed and mad and angry and sad and get into my moods and everything. But I'm not going to allow them to control me, and I'm not going to pretend to be a Disney movie where everything's happy all the time, right? But I just know that I don't want to live my life being all bottled up all the time. Just for the fact that I can walk outside and get hit by a bus, right? Hopefully not too hard. Um, but but it's but I'll probably be too stubborn to get hurt anyways. From Yeah, I laughed when I got hit by that car in Halifax, and then I laughed 24 hours later. I hit a deer, going, what's going on? I looked up and going, you trying to tell me something? What are you trying to tell me? Like, what do I need to know, right? Exactly. That time, right? Like, boom. I even went and bought tickets both those times, and damn it, nothing. Okay, come on, you can at least give me a 649 or something. Um, but it's amazing. I I'm in a great relationship with an amazing woman. I have a home. I have I have great jobs, great employment, and hopefully, yeah, like I said, it's life is great. It's beautiful.
Awesome. So what kind of things are you excited about? You've done like theater, you've done films, you've done photography. What advice do you have for like young people, whether they're at CNYC or they're somewhere else, Indigenous youth wanting to get into the arts, or older people? What kind of things do they need to know? And what kind of things, I mean, like you said, we were talking, being in the arts is scary, right? It's
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, there's not enough money, you'll never make a living, but you've kind of balanced both worlds where you've done your nonprofit work and your creative work alongside. So yeah, maybe can you talk a bit about that and advice you have, things you've learned, what you want to see?
Well, hmm, I think the biggest thing, the only advice I can give is just trust yourself, be honest with yourself, um, and do it, right? Is that I always tell people, I said, when I've done film workshops or in even photo workshops, just go do it. Tell a story. It's so much easier now with cell phones, right? Is that you can shoot a movie with a cell phone. The quality is so great. Although make sure you think about the audio, right? Don't have people 20 feet away from you expecting the audio to be good. But it's just shoot it. Tell me a story. You can tell your story better than I can, especially if you have something amazing to tell. And everybody does, no matter what age you are, and no matter where you're from. Tell your story. And I think that's the biggest thing. Is that I always tell people is that don't wait for a grant, and don't wait for somebody else to do it. Right? It's that jokingly, that's how Dances with Wolves got made. Right? Is that we don't want those stories coming out all the time made by some white guy thinking, hey, look, and then he becomes the savior of all Indians for a while. And I think that's it. That's what I can tell. I'm also and I think we've talked about this before, is that I'm really going to, I think how I want to kind of, what I want to lead myself into at some point is that I want a fully run Indigenous run arts building. And I think that's what we need in Saskatoon, because we're pretty central and we got a lot of Indigenous people around us, Alberta, Saskatchewan. Is that we need, and no disrespect to the art agencies that are here in Saskatoon or in Saskatchewan, but I think we need something that has film skill and photo school and painting and visual arts and sound and spoken word and theater and everything that's in the background of all those, right? Is that we need our own building that has a gallery, that has even a little small restaurant and theater, black box theater, that it's all under one spot. And that's what we need. I'm hoping to one day, I think that's a goal that so we can tell our own stories, right? And we can manage ourselves, and we can have our own board, and we can have everything that's under. But I think we've talked about this before. I said the one thing I've always disliked about art in any sense is the egos. I'm better than you, and I've been doing this so long, and I know what's best, right? Is that's the point, is let's keep an open mind, let's keep learning. And I think that's what art does, right? Is that you keep learning, you keep that open mind, and leave your ego outside. And no matter how many years you're doing, you've done this. Sure, everybody deserves respect, and you get that pat on the back that you've done it for 30, 40, 50 years, right? And you've won these awards, and you've won this, and you've gone here. But you know what? My family's from Duck Lake, Saskatchewan, and I grew up on Avenue I and 20th and Avenue I in Saskatoon and Riversdale. I don't care how many awards I get and how many things I've gone to. I'm still that kid that used to get his ass kicked in Pleasant Hill. And I'm always going to be that kid, right? And I'm not going to pretend that I'm better than anybody else. And I think that's another thing to remember. Just do art. And if you're doing it for money and just money, I don't know. To me, I think that's my opinion. That's the wrong reason to do it. I always jokingly tell people, I said, I became a documentary filmmaker in Saskatchewan to become rich. I'm going, whoa, picked the wrong place to do that, right? And but yeah, that's it. Hope that makes sense.
Totally, that's awesome. Yeah, so so are there any rumors to the or any backup to the rumors that you're buying the ROXY to set up your new Indigenous collective?
You know what? I went and looked at it yesterday. The rumor about that I want to buy the ROXY Theater is a true rumor. I'm putting it out there. I'm being positive. I'm putting positive affirmations out there. I'm going to start talking to people more about it. But I've already written things, like I drew things that my house that show the big theater, the small theater, buying the buildings beside it for offices, where that block almost becomes the whole Indigenous theater hub again, right? And it made me smile, because I'm going, God, I remember when SNTC they would have taken that whole 2 blocks up, right? And it's too bad things happened in between these past 20 years, but they happened. There was no, but I think it would have been amazing to see GT&T on that whole block, and even taking the ROXY, because I remember when GT&T could have bought the ROXY because we had the vagina monologues there that one year, and it was closed still. And I'm going, God, we should buy this building. I said, to have this theater, right? It would have been an amazing, amazing thing. But yeah, it's something that I'm trying to do. I'm being positive about there. I'm putting it out there that that I want to buy it, and I'm hoping to buy it before somebody else does it, and they screw it up somehow.
So let's get on that. We'll get a GoFundMe link up, and
exactly right.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing, like just to see that dream come true, right? Of all the, like the photography, the arts, theater, drama, scripts, video, everything, right?
Well, I just love the fact that I've sat there and thinking, okay, there's the big theater, there's the small theater, turn the small theater into a black box theater, buy the 2 buildings beside it and turn it into meeting offices and rehearse spaces and green rooms and in the front, and then I'm going, God, it could be such a beautiful place. And then the bigger theater could be the place for concerts still and stuff like that. And it could be, I think it would be such an amazing. So I'm putting it out there. I love my dream. I've had this dream about having this Indigenous Métis art hub for the longest time, right? And I think it's because I'm tired of the appropriation, right? There's a lot of appropriation in this town, and we allow it too. We as Indigenous and Métis people allow it because we have no other place to go, right? If somebody needs us, or we know that half the time people are just putting this out there because they need to, oh, look, we're using brown people, right? And some people may not like that when they hear that, but it's the truth. But we also need to, because there's no other place for us to go, right? And cultural appropriation and using Indigenous people just to help get a grant or something like that for your arts is not the way to go. And just using Indigenous people because you think you need to, going and is that no, I think we should be used because we're good at what we do, right? There's a lot of good people out there, writers, actors, singers, performers, artists, painters, visual artists. Use them because they're worth it, right? Don't use them because we're going, wow, we got to make ourselves look good this year. Let's brown it up, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
God, I get myself into trouble every time I talk with you.
With me, I think every time you open your mouth, you get in trouble. But I mean,
Yeah.
It's just the truth, right?
Exactly.
I mean, nobody likes a truth teller, but sometimes it needs to be said.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, for sure, there's a lot of misappropriation. I mean, it's been in the news. We've talked about it on other shows. And then like the tokenization, right? Where it's like, oh, we checked that box and now we're good. And look how Indigenous we are, right? And that happens with all kinds of organizations everywhere, right? And I mean, I think the big thing is it needs to be, Indigenous led. And I think it's kind of like the opposite of gentrification, right? When you can kind of take some land back. So I'm all for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think having our own space, the big thing is trying to get our own space is a big thing. It's like it's sort of land back, and it's taking our power back, that we can tell our stories, and we're not going to use each other for grants, right? It's like we're all brown in this building, right? And we're not going to abuse it, right? And we're not going to use each other. And there's not going to be any appropriation, and until I guess some non-native person says that we're appropriating them, and saying you can't do that, you can't tell that story, that's a white story. Okay, maybe that'll be my next play.
That sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Tell us, we got like a couple minutes left. Tell us, like, you've told us a bit about your video project. What about the radio play and the other plays you're working on? Can you talk a little bit about
Oh
that?
yeah. So the radio plays for who's it for again? Burnt Thicket Theater. Yeah. And so they came up to me three or 4 months ago and asked us to and asked different people to write some stories on reconciliation. And I hate that word in the first place. And it's such a it's such a word that I just go every time I hear it, I'm going, we gotta quit on that, right? It's like it's such a funny word. I think it's just become a play word now for people just to use. So but theater is doing something for called We Treaty People. And there's different writers, and I think they got probably about 6 or 7 different writers, and I said yes. But I was trying to figure out what to write on it, right? So I wrote a play, and I wanted to be honest. My biggest thing is honest, right? I didn't want to make a fluffy, hey, we're all holding hands, singing Kumbaya. Look at how it's so good, right? So I sat with a friend of mine and we started talking about it, and that was the play. The play is my friend and I talking about two friends talking about, I mean, about reconciliation means to them and how it really means nothing. Because when I grew up, it meant nothing. Treaty meant nothing when I was a kid. And reconciliation meant nothing when I was a kid, right? So what did I learn as a kid when I grew up? I learned what a teepee was in a wigwam, right? And I didn't know anything about treaties until I was older. And even that, when I found out about treaties, I said all I thought it was dental care and eye care, right? And then we didn't learn about anything in high school. And so that's what it's about. It's a conversation. My play is called Coffee Talk. It's about two people who go have a conversation about treaty, what treaty means to them, and you find out from these two, one Métis person and one Indigenous person, that it means nothing. But it's not an angry play, because really we want to you want to believe all the things that treaty mean are actually true, right? That's what it is that you hope, and that treaty means land. It doesn't mean dental care. It means land and people and culture together. And those are just my opinions, right? So yeah, so that's one. The other thing that I just did was with Sackaway. I just had a couple of photos in an annual member show, which was great. So I put a couple things up there. A couple of the other plays I'm writing. I'm still trying to write a play on being. I think it's on almost being Métis, finding Métis, right? And especially with all these Pretendians going on and everything happening, is that I started writing that. I just started writing a crazy play about how when we go to bed at nights, everything that happens when we go to bed at nights, when a couple goes to bed at night, I called it 100 nights. And basically you're going to see, and I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but I started this kind of 100 nights where you see these two people in bed every night. They're either watching TV or reading a book, or they're arguing, or they're yelling at each other, or maybe one's on the couch or not. But each night is going to happen. It's going to be something different. It's going to be funny. It's going to be shocking. It's going to be, in some cases, naughty. And so I threw all this stuff in there. And I don't know what's going to stay in the play, but and whether it's going to happen or not. But I wanted to write this because I was sitting in bed one night watching TV. I'm going, it's so crazy that this is what we do when we go to bed, right? We watch TV, or we talk to each other, or that's when the serious talks happened at night, right? Or the crying, or the getting mad talks, or we roll over on either side and don't talk to each other the whole night, right? And we think because we turned our shoulders over like this, that you don't see me, right? And it's interesting. So that's some of the things that I'm doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Kishi Marci to our relative tonight, Marcel Petit and Niwag Magnak, all my relations. And believe me, we are all related. So act like you've got relations. This is Auntie Andy signing out from Homelands, originally produced on CFCR Community Radio, 90.5 FM in Saskatoon, Homelands of the Métis and Treaty 6 Territory, CFCR.ca. You can follow us on Twitter at Métis Homelands, send emails to métishomelands@gmail.com, view this on our YouTube channel, Homelands, and subscribe today. Marci, thank you for listening, and Akoshi Kawapa Matina Walmina. That's all. We'll see you later.